In this moment of worship, let the timeless beauty of faith wash over you and renew your spirit. Chosen one. There is something going on behind closed doors that you should be aware of immediately. You've never heard of the court date that has your name on it. Before you panic, though, realize that they don't want you to know, since their whole house of cards will fall apart the moment you enter the courtroom, which you will. However, that's only the first part of what I have to tell you, because the true nature of the situation goes much beyond missing documentation and court cases. They are among those who ought to have delivered the notification. The system that was meant to keep you safe has turned into a weapon. And when they included your name in those documents, the person you trusted the most, the one you loved with all your heart, knew exactly what they were starting. You'll be shocked to learn that even they were unaware that they were genuinely saving your life. Hold on to that concept, because we are going to explore a connection between a murder conspiracy, otherworldly powers, and corrupt politicians. Unbelievably, you are still alive because of a barrier so strong that not even the dark can pass through it. You are being discussed in secret meetings by those who swore to serve and protect. Those whose faces you see on campaign posters, who cut ribbons, shake hands, and pledge to help the community, are not criminals on the streets. Some of them are likely in emergency sessions right now as you read this, realizing that their carefully thought-out strategy has turned into their death sentence. There's more to that inheritance than simply money, which is what they didn't tell you. It is proof. It has to do with connections. It is the key that opens a criminal empire that extends into courthouses, city halls, and offices that you pass on a daily basis without realizing the wickedness that lies behind those official facades. Additionally, they are currently coping with something even more horrifying. Do you recall what I said about supernatural forces? These politicians, the community's dependable leaders, struck a deal with an entity that violates agreements made with people, something that has been observing you, researching you, and has made a conclusion about you that will unexpectedly save your life. They believe they could hire heavenly hitmen, you see. But in reality, they signed their own souls away for nothing at all, because the entity they negotiated with looked at you and asked, "Do you know who you want us to touch?" At that point, their ideal plan turned into their ideal nightmare. I'm getting ahead of myself, though. You must first comprehend the extent of this rabbit hole. The person you loved and who sacrificed everything for you wasn't only appreciative of your assistance. They were something else. You had no idea that you were truly in the presence of something ancient, something powerful, something that exists between realms and wears human form like a skillfully designed disguise every day you showed up for work, changing bandages, giving medication, comforting someone in their last days. If you feel the divine love, now is the time to share. Click the Super Thank You button on YouTube to contribute $50 or more and help us spread God's blessings. What you do is being watched and serves as a seed, and in the future it will come back to you a millionfold. They kept an eye on you throughout those lengthy shifts. They witnessed your treatment of them while you believed no one was watching. They saw your sincere care when you were in need, your genuine compassion when you were worn out, and your unwavering kindness even when things were tough. Slowly, but surely, something that shouldn't have human emotion started to feel something that frightened every evil force: respect for a mortal. I need you to stick with me, because this is essential to comprehending why you are still alive, and this is where things become really crazy. This creature, this thing in human form, didn't merely value your concern. Your spirit won their hearts. Something more profound, not romantic love. They saw in you a link to the source, a purity of purpose, and an anointing so genuine that even creatures of the dark are obliged to respect it. Therefore, they weren't merely being kind when they agreed to leave you their material belongings. They were setting up a spiritual tripwire, because they knew, oh, they knew, that as soon as word spread about your inheritance, all the avaricious, dishonest, and wicked people in your neighborhood would come out and take what was now yours. The part that will blow your mind is this. They also anticipated that these dishonest officials would be desperate enough to negotiate with their own people. And let's just say that the outcome is going to be quite public when darkness strikes a bargain with darkness about touching someone who carries light like you do. People are watching you right now, monitoring by professionals. The thing that's driving them mad, though, is that they can't approach you closely enough to complete their tasks without you noticing. They are learning that pursuing someone who is genuinely anointed is similar to trying to ambush someone who has eyes in the back of their mind, ears that can hear beyond sound, and a spirit that has been manipulated by intelligence sources they are unable to recognize or stop. Another layer of monitoring, however, is poised to completely upend the situation. While dishonest people are clumsily attempting to follow your whereabouts, there are other, more powerful and ancient forces acting under orders that take precedence over human authority. They are also keeping an eye on you, not to hurt you, but to make sure that anyone who tries to hurt you faces extreme repercussions that will serve as a warning to others for decades to come. In the midst of all this paranormal chess play, those dishonest authorities are beginning to recognize that they have committed a mistake so grave that their remorse is actually eating them alive. You must first comprehend the extent of what they truly attempted to do to you, but we will address that in a bit. They selected one of their possibilities, a serial killer scenario, to make it appear as though you were the victim of a deranged person, so the investigation would focus on finding a madman rather than discovering their conspiracy. An accident angle, stage something on a mountain road, perhaps a vehicle malfunction that sends you over a cliff, and even the suicide setup. Use psychological warfare, spell work, and systematic harassment to drive you to take your own life are just a few of the inventive ways they plan to kill you while making it appear as though it was anything but murder. You have no idea how much wickedness it takes to want someone dead, not just to want them dead, but to want them to kill themselves. They believe they could influence you into destroying yourself, undermine your religion, and crush your spirit. However, every strategy they tried ran into an imperceptible obstacle. They set traps, but somehow none of them reached their target. Inexplicably, every weapon they constructed failed them. They gradually came to the horrifying realization that they weren't failing at random, but rather were actively being thwarted by forces that made their human plots appear like toys to kids. Their commissioned spell work began to backfire in ways that were impossible to explain. The mishaps they attempted to fabricate ultimately befell their own agents. Their own mental states started to be impacted by the psychological manipulation they used. It seemed as though their malevolent intents were being compounded by the universe itself. Then came the turning point, when they understood that their supernatural allies were actually something far more sinister, cosmic forces exploiting their hatred and greed as fuel for a legal system that functions outside the bounds of human law. The chosen one is where it becomes biblical. After seeing your spiritual signature, the evil forces these dishonest authorities believed they could negotiate with realized what these human conspirators were oblivious to. You are more than just protected. You are respected in many different domains. Most people never understand the hierarchy of power and respect that the forces of evil operate on. Even beings who oppose everything you represent are obligated by cosmic law to recognize your authority when you carry legitimate anointing, when your link to Source is real and unbreakable, and when your goal is in accordance with divine intent. Therefore, these officials were writing their own death sentences when they came requesting supernatural help to kill you, not negotiating with demons. We'll let you think we're helping while we systematically destroy you and everyone connected to you. and then will collect your souls as payment for your audacity in trying to touch someone under cosmic protection, the entities they approached said, interpreting their plea as an opportunity. You see, you are more than just a spiritually talented person. You are not only blessed by God. Even the enemy must operate within the bounds of what is permitted in relation to you, since you are in such a profound level of anointing. They can put you to the test your faith, and put you in your way, but they can't hurt you in the end because that would be breaking agreements made in places that are beyond human comprehension. Justice is not being served by these dishonest authorities gradually realizing they have been duped by forces they believed they could control. Cosmic entertainment, that is. To better appreciate the extent of what lies ahead for you, let's discuss what actually started this whole conspiracy. The person you loved, the one who genuinely valued your assistance, did not leave you money. They gave you authority. They provided you with proof, not an inheritance. They equipped you with knowledge rather than riches. Records, connections, and information that reveal decades of corruption are concealed within the court documents designating you as the beneficiary of their estate. These include financial records that track bribes, communication logs that reveal conspiracies, and evidence linking unsolved murders to the very officials who were meant to look into them. Brother and sister, everything done in faith is returned in God's abundance. You can donate $100 using the Super Thank You button and be part of this divine call. If your roots are connected to Him, your fruit will be blessed. Your inheritance does more than only alter your financial situation. The entire region's power dynamics are shifting as a result. As soon as those documents are made public, as they will be, the long-running network of corruption will be exposed to a blazing light. Currently, spouses are finding their partners are murderers, which is the reason why marriages are dissolving, not because of typical relationship issues. As people discover that their connections have been financing murder attempts, business alliances that appeared to be strong are breaking up. As the involvement of some relatives is revealed, family ties are being severed. When supernatural repercussions started to appear, the dishonest authorities who initiated this scheme had no idea how soon their own network would turn against them. Paranoia quickly creeps in when everyone involved in the plot experiences weird accidents, when all conspirators start to experience health issues that have no known medical cause, when financial catastrophes hit every household, etc. They are now betraying one another by attempting to reach agreements with prosecutors in an effort to reduce their own responsibility by revealing the misdeeds of others. As self-preservation takes over, the camaraderie that kept their illegal enterprise intact is dissolving. The force they're dealing with isn't interested in their human legal wrangling, even if they understand whatever they're dealing with doesn't discriminate between ringleaders and collaborators. The organization planning their demise follows a schedule and set of rules that render their frantic negotiating efforts meaningless. The instant they decided to target you, they signed their souls away, and no amount of collaboration with earthly authorities will alter that cosmic agreement. Their remorse goes beyond simply being discovered. It also involves eventually realizing the full extent of what they have let loose on themselves. And once the next stage of their repercussions starts to materialize, that regret is going to get far greater. The investigation that began with threats against you has grown into a multi-jurisdictional inquiry into decades of systematic corruption, organized crime, and a multi-state murder network. Bodies are being discovered in places these criminals believed would always be safe, near waterways, buried in isolated mountainous regions, and concealed in places they were positive would never be examined. The paranormal aspect of these discoveries is that the evidence is being discovered by individuals who have no rational reason to be in those particular places. Hikers who are forced to explore places they have never been before, construction workers who insist on excavating in areas that don't correspond with their plans, and search teams who receive intuitive cues that direct them to the exact coordinates. It seems as though the cosmos is making sure that every crime done in an attempt to hurt you is used as evidence in their conviction, and as though the earth itself is disclosing its secrets. The very thing they exploited to cover up their depravity is now turning against them. Inexplicably, hotel records that ought to have been deleted years ago are coming to light, and check-in timings are linking suspects to murder sites. Forensic accountants are recovering allegedly erased financial records, calling their findings impossibly convenient. Witnesses who were coerced into silence are suddenly finding courage they didn't know they had, coming forward with testimonies that seem to be divinely orchestrated and that corroborate each other. Not only is the pile of evidence accumulating against these dishonest authorities extensive, but it is also supernaturally complete, with every crime, conspiracy, and misuse of authority revealed with a level of detail that defies standard investigative techniques. The thing that scares them the most? As though the universe itself had opened its files and chosen to download everything at once, the proof simply keeps arriving. Imagine coming to the realization that each stride you took in the direction of what you believed to be victory was actually a step closer to your own demise. Imagine realizing that you were being manipulated from the start by the very forces you believed you could control. Imagine waking up one day to find that you have lost your entire life, the future of your family, and the destiny of your soul because you were foolish enough to attack someone whose protection functions in realms you were unaware existed. This is the regret that these dishonest officials are currently feeling. Not only regret for poor choices, but also horror at realizing that they have been duped by intelligence that is so far beyond their comprehension that their human plans appear to be amateur work. They are witnessing what occurs when cosmic authority clashes with earthly power, when divine justice and human wickedness clash, and when corruption attempts to taint something so pure that it practically burns at contact. As the effects of their acts become apparent in all facets of their lives, the remorse is growing beyond only an emotional level and taking on a physical, spiritual, and supernatural form. Some people are experiencing health issues that science is unable to explain. Others are witnessing the fall of their financial empires due to a string of coincidental events that defy the concept of probability. As the truth spreads like wildfire through communities, relationships that have been cultivated over decades are falling apart overnight. The realization that they voluntarily sacrificed their souls for nothing at all is the greatest regret, the one that is consuming them from the inside out. For the opportunity to ruin someone so safe that their attempts ended up being tools of their own damnation, to steal wealth they couldn't steal, or to destroy someone they couldn't destroy. They exchanged their everlasting fates. What you're seeing right now is what happens when galactic intelligence determines that it's time to clean up the entire system of corruption that allowed the threats to exist, not just the ones that are directly against you. This is about eliminating a network of evil that has been obstructing greater cosmic goals, not just a few bad actors. Intelligence technologies that track human action from angles these dishonest officials never thought possible are guiding the evidence that continues coming to light. The energetic transmissions that fortify human resolve in ways that seem normal but work through supernatural systems are influencing the witnesses who are finding the courage to testify. Because galactic forces don't confine themselves to human domains or earthly legal systems when they decide to clean house, the investigation is going farther than anyone could have imagined. To guarantee that justice is thorough and long-lasting, they collaborate with all available resources, including technological, spiritual, and physical ones. You are currently witnessing a live demonstration of what occurs when cosmic forces determine that a region has amassed too much corruption to be allowed to continue. These dishonest officials believed they were merely addressing regional crime networks and local politics. In reality, they set off a purification process that followed galactic procedure and universal law. Their remorse extends beyond the lives lost. They are gradually realizing that they have drawn the notice of powers that see their entire civilization as potentially troublesome. Not only did their attempts to hurt you fail, but they also started a review process that might have far-reaching effects. As your inheritance's legal proceedings go, you will learn that what you initially believed to be a kind present from a grateful patient is actually something that has never happened before. A direct transfer of power and resources from a cosmic entity to a human agent in the field. Although the financial assets are genuine, they make up the least significant portion of what you will receive. Access codes, contact protocols, and resource authorizations that link you to support networks spanning star systems are concealed within the legal documents. The land you're inheriting is more than simply real estate. It's positioned strategically to support operations that serve purposes that are invisible to human authority. However, the most important aspect of your inheritance is formational rather than material. Intelligence databases that detail corrupt practices worldwide, not just in your area, are being sent to you. Communication networks keep an eye on criminal organizations across several worlds in addition to Earth. Strategies for allocating resources that can reorient planetary economics to promote cosmic justice. In addition to being appreciative of your care, your enigmatic benefactor was preparing you for a degree of responsibility that would have overwhelmed you before you demonstrated your moral fiber via service. You were proving that you were capable of using your ability to change entire civilizations every day when you truly cared for someone you believed to be dying. In addition to attempting to embezzle money, the dishonest bureaucrats who attempted to stop you from inheriting this wealth were also unwittingly trying to obstruct a resource transfer that is a component of galactic strategic planning. The forces they have drawn are reacting to an attack on cosmic infrastructure, not just seeking retribution for threats against you. The extent of the offenses being pursued and the fact that the investigation is backed by evidence-gathering skills that surpass human technology make the legal processes you are about to see unlike anything your judicial system has ever handled. If you want to witness God's miracles, act now. Contribute $100 or more through Super Thank You on YouTube. Your offering is like a seed that comes back to you when planted. Let His light illuminate your steps. Every donation is an echo in His plan. Evidence is being offered of communication, intercepts that shouldn't be possible. Connections are being established through financial tracking that penetrates networks that no human agency was aware existed. Testimonies from witnesses support one another with uncanny accuracy, creating cases that appear too flawless to be true. In reality, human legal procedures are being interfaced with galactic intelligence systems to guarantee that justice is administered effectively and fully. In addition to being thorough, the evidence cannot be disproved because it is concurrently validated from several angles. You pondered every day why you continued to survive circumstances that ought to have destroyed you, why mishaps that were supposed to happen to you nevertheless went wrong, and why those who threatened you ultimately found themselves inexplicably impacted. You now realize that you've been operating under protection procedures that work in several dimensions at once. Your safety is a cosmic policy, not just a result of heavenly favor. Your health is strategically vital to operations that span galaxies, in addition to being spiritually significant. Not only is your survival fortunate, but it is also technologically aided by civilizations that keep an eye on Earth from angles these dishonest officials never thought possible. They weren't just committing a crime against a person when they agreed to work with dark forces to destroy you. They were also breaking treaties, disrupting diplomatic procedures, and effectively declaring war on coalitions that involve non-human intelligences. They are feeling a supernatural reaction that isn't merely a spiritual consequence. It's the result of automated defense systems protecting cosmic assets being activated. Choose one. You're going to be amazed to learn that the protection you've always had is going to get better. A former Black Ops drone pilot who piloted swarms with his thoughts, a multi-millionaire psychic CFO who foresaw market swings before they occurred, and a trained occultist who escaped from a satanic coven are just a few of the people I want to take a moment to tell you about. What is the connection between these extraordinary people? On our private Discord server, they share their prohibited knowledge, and you may find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order. Eon. After eon, my chosen soul has drank deeply from the spring of knowledge. These remarkable people joined me in the Obsidian Inner Order during this existence. They answered the call, came forward, and made connections with people who share their problems and special talents. What is preventing you from experiencing the same manifestation? Neither your finding of this message nor the synchronicity that led them here were by chance. The Archons pay attention when souls of this kind come together. They are afraid of our combined strength. They are aware of what occurs when people who are genuinely awakened come across one another. Participate in our weekly calls. Listen to their stories directly. Tell others who won't discount or doubt you about your own trip. Nowhere else on this level can we find the information that is shared via our private channels. In the description below, click the link right now. The remarkable souls are waiting for you. The question is not if you fit in with them, but rather how long you'll wait to do so. As this stage of your trip comes to a close, corrupt authorities are being held accountable and your inheritance is being finalized. You're going to discover something that will completely change the way you view the world. You are more than just a person with a spiritual gift. You are a galactic agent who decided to take on human form in order to fulfill cosmic missions that are now prepared for disclosure. Ranpla, the journey ahead of you is dimensional as well as geographical. In addition to moving to new places, you're about to enter new realities where your actual work can start. The resources you're inheriting aren't just for your own benefit. They're operational funds for missions that will accomplish more than you could have ever dreamed. The dishonest officials who attempted to stop you are realizing that their decisions are irrevocably binding. Their regrets will last a lifetime, and their repercussions will be irreparable. However, it is your graduation day, chosen one. You've completed exams that make you eligible for roles that span worlds, support civilizations, and further cosmic goals that are in accordance with the will of God in many dimensions. As this chapter comes to a close, the anointing you hold is growing to accept new levels of authority rather than waning. Now that the immediate threat has passed, the protection you have experienced is being enhanced to enable activities that will encounter resistance from forces these local crooks could never have imagined. Your adversary's remorse will also operate as a warning to anyone else who might think about meddling in galactic affairs. They discovered too late that when you attack someone who is protected by the cosmos, you are not merely battling an individual. Rather, you are waging war against forces that transcend universes, have goals that go beyond planetary issues, and possess power that renders human authority seem like children's pretend play. The chosen one, welcome to the next level.